All right, everybody. Today's been one of those days. Have you ever had like one of those days where you're like, this is one of those days? Well, this is one of those days. I mean, maybe it's been one of those weeks. It's been the build-up. So when I'm recording this, this was the day, I don't know if you've been following, they've been talking about there's an unusual configuration that was going to be in the heavens. And I think it was like Moon, Mercury, Venus, Mars, maybe Saturn and Jupiter. But all the personal planets are going to be all visible. They're going to be close to each other. They're all going to be on the ecliptic, visible in the ecliptic this morning. So whether or not that has anything to do with it, I don't know. So before I get into this day, we're going to start with a little bit of a tour. I'm on Gnome Country. I'm at Gnome Countryside right now. I've talked about it a bunch, and so let me give you a little bit of a flavor of what it looks like and what we got here before I I start my emotional dumping. All right, so let's see. So this is the road. Like it looks like a driveway, but it's a road, and it's mostly a shortcut road, and it's, I don't know, like 15 cars maybe during a day. Maybe not 15 cars, 15 vehicles, half of them are buggies. And so Mr. Rich's one son lives up there with his family, another son lives up there with his family. There's a lot of field trips that happen here. So that's the porta pot for the children when they come. I mean, this is so Lancaster County. This is just like, it's for sale, and it's just like odd and end things. And like, if you're going to go and purchase any of these things, you'll go and you put your money in there, and welcome Lancaster. Now look right here. You see this little white car right here? This little white truck? This is mine. You are not imagining it when you see that there is a Susquehanna Alchemy. Let me see if I can get that with the light. There's a shadow right there. Let me try to open it. There we go. We got that right on the door. I feel like I'm a character from a movie when I drive around with this thing, and just like everything about it, I'm in no place to kind of go and say like, oh, it's been one of these weeks, when something like this just like landed in my lap rather recently. But nonetheless, so okay, we're going to start our walk down to Gnome Countryside. We've got, this is the house right here. Typically, we begin with this. No man right there. Hey.
I got a favor for you.
All right.
I got a group tomorrow morning.
Okay.
But I'd like to fire that sauna up tomorrow afternoon.
What time would you like me to, what time do you want the sauna ready?
Oh, like whatever works with you. But
You tell me what time so then I can go and schedule. Like around 3, 4?
Yeah, 3.
3? Okay. So I'll start working on around 2.
Hey, come here.
Come here.
Love you.
Love you too.
Okay,
All right.
it.
You're welcome. You're welcome.
Hey, Mike,
Yes, sir.
I gotta be by myself a little bit.
Okay.
I'm just gonna go take a little.
Okay. I'll keep Izzy occupied. You take care of yourself.
Yeah, thank you.
You're welcome. Did I tell you it was one of those days? That was Mr. Rich. He's had diabetes for 60 years. And the reason why he was kind of just looking like that and acting like that, I'm not going to edit that out. Like, part of me wants to, but you guys, you want to see the real deal? That's the real deal. He just had a major low blood sugar episode. And that shit is wild. This is the second one which I've seen. And so the first one, he was basically in a coma. And then this one, it was like he was really, really drunk. Like, it's like talking to someone who's just belligerently drunk. And you're trying to get them to, like, take sugar, like, drink juice or something like that, and they're, like, fighting you. And so I would imagine that then comes with, like, a pretty big emotional hangover and blood sugar hangover. Like, that was what you kind of just saw. You saw, like, that really, that vulnerable space. And so it's interesting to have, you can hear that? Something's going on over there. Those are horses. It's interesting to have this experience and this sort of relationship. I didn't realize the responsibility I was taking on when I moved in here. So I'm living in this house right here. Like, can you imagine this? Like, look how spectacular this is. And we're just starting to see it. But it comes with this responsibility, and there's a lot to manage. So that's what you just saw. You saw that when he's in low blood sugar, it was my responsibility, or whoever else is around. It's been twice. That's been me, to take care of it. So it's been one of those friggin' days. Let's continue with our tour. When I first met Mr. Rich, you see this tree right here? It's 125 feet tall. I think it's a spruce. And when I first met him about 10 years ago, it was at a dinner party, and he told me, he was like, hey, every year on my birthday, I climb this 125-foot tree, and I go to the top, and I feel the wind blow, because I heard that's what John Muir, is that how I pronounce his name? That's what he used to do. And so I've been doing that every year since then. And he invited me. He's like, hey, do you want to come over and do you want to climb the tree with me? And I was like, hell yeah. I'm going to go and do that. And so I came over, just a couple days later, and, this is the tree. And how you get into it, there's normally like an extension ladder, which might go up like 30 feet, and then you get off the extension ladder and climb onto those branches. And, I wouldn't say that I'm afraid of heights. But I certainly don't want to fall to my death. And I climbed up to the top, and I could not get off the top of that, the ladder. And he was like, it's okay, why don't you just come on down, not everyone's going to do it. And I came down, and then he just like galloped up, not quite like a cat, but definitely he just got off and he's blind as a bat. He's blind as a freaking bat. He just got off of the ladder and then climbed all the way to the top up there. So, there's a story. So it's funny because I just told you a story about him, which would probably indicate, it's like an awe, like, oh, he's got diabetes and this and that. But this dude is virile as fuck, and he people love him because he's soft and he's kind, but he is strong and he's stubborn, and he's like it's a fascinating juxtaposition. So let me go and show you some more. So I did a video, I think it was a video, no, I did a couple pictures just a few days ago of the sauna. So I'm going to show you where that sauna is. And you heard him, he asked me, he's like, can you go start the fire? That was, it's kind of a big deal to be asked. Well, I guess it's not that big of a deal. He doesn't want to do it. It's a pain in the ass to do. This right here, this summer, is going to turn into a pretty big pond. It's spring-fed. You can see the little spring house right there. And this is going to probably be like twice the size in which it is right now, the depression. And it will be a spring-fed pond for dunking in after the sauna, or the sauna, as they like to say. We'll start over here. I come down here in the morning, every morning. I start every morning up here on this deck, and I journal for a page, and I'd go and do like my morning sort of like notebook rituals, and then I come down here and I go and do like more or less easy exercises, little bit of meditation. You could see right here. I don't know how clearly you can see it, but this is where it's like a waterfall. It's not a big one, but you can hear it come down. It's a really nice place to start. A nice spot to start the day. So here is the sauna. That's an empty propane tank. I don't know why it's there, but it's not a propane sauna. You can see here's all the wood which we use. This is the door. And this right here is where you open that up and you put the wood in there, and you light the fire, and it gets to about 190 degrees in here. I'm going to bring you inside the sauna, but I don't know if the lighting is going to capture anything. So you come in here. Let's see what we got. It looks nice and dark. What if I stand over here? If I stand over here, you can kind of go and see this door. That's the hot box. That's where it gets hot. This is the changing area, and can't really see it, but there's a big boulder right there, and the structure was built around that boulder. And there are, can you see any of this? Maybe, like, this is the upper bench, and then there's a lower bench, and there are two upper and lower here as well. It's much hotter on the upper side. And we do saunas. We do saunas once, at least once every 2 weeks, usually about once a week. Mr. Rich loves having people over here, so he's always inviting. Anyone who'd come to one of his saunas, like he's always extending invitations, and it's always kind of funny because he doesn't have to know you well before you get an invitation to a sauna, and there's a certain charm which he brings. He brings this charm of being an 80-year-old man, and he's kind of like. I mean, he's a character. He's a character. Now we're going to cross one over. We're crossing over right here, over the bridge. You can see there's that lower bridge down there. That's for the kids, the children, to go underneath. This is the creek that feeds that waterfall. Come in here. So where was I with the story? Oh, so he invites people over all the time, and. There's just a party here. There's still a little bit of trash lying around. Most of the trash we just burn right there. This is a really, really nice spot. When the light hits it, we missed it by probably like 2 hours. But there's a way that when the setting sun comes through this area and it hits all of these tree stumps, these are places to sit where you tell stories, where because young children come here. It's another place. That's what all these benches are for the storytelling. I'm sorry, I'm just kind of all over the place right now with the stories myself. Okay, where was I? I was talking about, Mr. Rich, and he invites people over for the for the sauna, and he doesn't really know him very well. He just, he'll meet and start to talk to any single person. Like, I've never seen a more outgoing sort of disposition. And he'll invite him to the sauna, and usually people are taken. They're like, they're kind of smitten because he's a character. He's a character, and so they come to the sauna, and there's usually a variety of people. Like, if he's going to do a sauna, it's usually not like just like one person. He'll tell him to bring some people, but he'll be there. Maybe he'll invite some other people. And the thing which is so funny, or at least funny to me, is, you don't wear clothes in a sauna, particularly like traditional Norwegian, like, outside of United States culture, particularly mid-Atlantic United States culture. Like, the idea of of being nude with strangers is out of the ordinary for a lot of people. So he invites people over to the sauna. He doesn't tell them he's going to be nude. We got this 80-year-old man. Every time I go, I'm always sans clothing, and I think it's the greatest way to meet people. Like if you can go and meet someone, like truly with nothing on, you're vulnerable, you're authentic, you're bare. But it's also kind of fun and funny, how it meets people, and you go and you see, how someone responds. There was literally, I was in a sauna once, this was years ago, with an Amish guy, and he had on wool pants. He was wearing friggin' wool pants. So anyway, so that's the sauna. That's the sauna. I was going to say, if you're in the area, come by for a sauna, but after I just gave that whole sort of oh, but no one's wearing clothes, it's kind of funny. So anyway, okay, so we're beginning to get an idea of Gnome Countryside. Where do I want to go? Oh, I'm going to go to my favorite friggin' spot. You're not even going to believe how beautiful this spot is where I'm going to take you. All right, so what a day. I didn't even know what this conversation was going to be. I wasn't planning on talking about Mr. Rich until we had that that interaction. All right. There's a gazebo. Take a look at this drum right here. This drum is the base of it. This is a tree trunk. It's been hollowed out. That's on top. So let's keep coming down here. And we're going to go to my favorite spot. I hear some voices in the background. I never know whose voices they are. I don't know if you could tell, but I'm walking down a pretty steep embankment. Yeah, this is literally and this creek goes all the way down to, it dumps into the Octorora. I think that's how I pronounce it. It's not very far down here, but if you've seen that video where those orbs appear, it's right where this one part of the stream dumps into it. So let me go and get situated here. I want to go and sit. All right. I think it'll probably be better for you guys if this is in the back shot. I guess it doesn't matter because I'm blocking it. Alright, so I was supposed to be in Austin today. I've been really looking forward to that trip. And that's what I mean, today was one of those days. And this week, I've had some bumps in the road, particularly in my personal life. Well, two things happen. I've had some bumps in the road with some relationships, and then I've had other relationships where things became not that they were smoother, maybe deeper, maybe nicer, maybe maybe new paths. I don't know, but there was both of those. I was just aware of the quality of many of my relationships this week, and relationships are important to me, particularly my personal ones. And so when there's a lot going on with a lot of different relationships, there's that affects me, or I'm aware of it. It enters into my space. So that being said, I was really looking forward to going to Austin. I was really looking forward to the experience. I've never been to Austin. I have certain preconceived notions about what I was going to walk into. I was very excited to meet Emily, to meet anyone else who would come out there. Mosquito. And so my flight was at an airport maybe about 90 minutes away, and it was like early flight, 6:15, 6:20 in the morning. And I was leaving here. I was going to go park at long-term parking and then like deal with all that stuff. So I was leaving here like a little bit after 3, and driving down, and then I find out that the flight was canceled. And so I'm like, all right, well, the flight's canceled. What are you going to do? This is what I've noticed about myself. This is how I respond to a lot of things. And I'm curious, is this how other people respond to life, or is it more unique to how I respond to life? But often when something, I'll use the word unpleasant, something which you don't want to happen, happens. My initial response is always very like, no response at all. Like, I'm like, okay, this is what's happening. And I think about it very, very detached. That's the word. I'm very detached from it. And very intellectual. A very strong intellectual response. Like, okay, this is what would be the next right step. And I also have this degree of awareness where I'm like, wow, I would think I would be more upset over something like this. Why am I not upset? I've had that conversation with myself enough times to realize, like, okay, this is what your cycle is. Because eventually, the thing that initially like happens, the eventual impact of it begins to settle, like, I don't know, like an hour, a day, a week, whatever, like depending upon the event. Like, I realized, like, wow, that really kind of stung. And so I came back to the house, and I went back to sleep, and then I woke up maybe around 7:30. I'm like, okay, let me see what I can do. Let me see if I can find another trip. And the American Airlines, that's who it was with, they booked me on another flight out to Austin, which would have been tomorrow morning, but they did it in another airport, which is like 3 hours from here. Like, it makes absolutely no sense. And they did not change the return flight, so it would have been like I would have 2 different airports. Like, the whole thing was nuts. And so I tried to go and call and see if I could figure out what was going on, and I couldn't. I guess there's like a lot going on right now with canceled airlines, and I actually booked it through a third party, and so I stopped trying to get in touch directly with the airline, and then contacted the third party who I booked it with, thinking like maybe they might be able to do something which I wasn't able to. Long and short of it, like literally on hold for 3 hours, and the person from the third party wasn't able to get anything. Like, the only thing they can do is you could cancel your flight, and hopefully they're going to refund you your money. They're like, I think it's going to happen. It should happen, but we don't know. We don't know. And then any other trip out there, I would have missed like all of the events which I was going out there for anyway. And so like the whole thing just kind of, it didn't happen. And I was really looking forward to going there, and didn't happen. It was one of those days. And then throughout the day, like, that began to become more and more evident within myself, because I started getting like annoyed. I usually don't get annoyed. Like, I've got a real high friggin' tolerance of not allowing things to affect my inner space. It's always been something important to me. Is like, can I maintain my inner integrity? Like, no matter what happens outside, I'm able to withhold a degree of peace from a peace within. And I was noticing today, like, very quickly, like, I just was really friggin' pissed. And I was also really excited to travel. I just got in my car and I just drove. I just drove for like 90 minutes just because I was like, I needed to move. And it was when I came back. I came back and I went down to the canyon, and I did like the physical movements and exercises, which I like to do. And then I came up, and I was in a good space. I was like, okay, I want to go and record. I haven't really recorded for a while. And I started recording, and that's when the whole sort of thing with Mr. Rich happened. I was sitting where we began this conversation, and he was pulled up in that car. That was one of his friends, and the guy was like, hey, help, I don't know what's going on. He doesn't live locally with Mr. Rich, so I don't think he's ever seen him go through one of these low blood sugar events before. And so the whole thing was just, anyway. So I was really friggin' annoyed. And at the same time, so a couple things. So I pointed out, like, the thing in the heavens. And my personal take, where I hold something like that, is like, okay, this is a marker. This is an indication. Like look around. What's happening in your life? Is anything else unusual happening in your life? Like, and just bringing awareness. Like, can you find that stillness? Don't exactly name it yet, because maybe I can't speak for anyone else. I can only speak for myself. But I want to name it. There's a tendency. It's like, oh, this is happening. Like, I talk about this a lot. I'm like, I want to come to this line of where the mystery is, and right before, where you gather enough information by observation, and then you want to name it. You want to say, this is what this is. Let me call this. And I used to love that. Like, I love naming things, and as I've grown on my journey, is like, I've developed that muscle to, like, not want to name things. So like recognizing, like, today all of this stuff is seemingly happening. I see the events in the heavens, and I'm just recognizing, like, this kind of, like, is it a separation? Is it a shift? Like, something's in the air, and I'm seeing. Like the Austin, like I call it whatever you want, but I didn't go to Austin for some reason. That event where I was supposed to go and meet folks, like that did not happen. And then I met other folks. Like, there's this fork in the road. And what I think is so interesting about the Austin experience was it was completely outside of my own personal control. It was like, life dictated this. I'm seeing that in a whole bunch of different ways. And one of the ways, or one of the areas in which I'm seeing it is, and I put out a video, I think it was yesterday, on Instagram, and it was a video of me making my most recent engagement book. My old one just reached its completion, and so I had to start a new one, and that's a process. There's a whole bunch of work which goes into getting it ready. It's like, it's a labor of love, if you will, particularly if you understand why, the why for why you put this much effort. You'd be like, why would you go and put this much effort in a calendar? You could literally just go and buy one, and you don't have to do any of that. But it's a process. It's a process. I'll just leave it at that. So I made a video of that, and I think it's really cool. I always like the videos where you see someone doing something and they speed it up, and I think it looks cool. So I started doing that too. And I'm starting to, I'm doing that for twofold. One, I like to share it, and two, this is a direction I really want to go into for what my work is going to be. And I was very pleased and surprised by the feedback I got. Like, I did not know how much interest would be in like just that sort of effort and work of creating what I was creating. So anyway, that was in the same way, like the collapse of the Austin wave. This was like something else which was beginning to show itself in my life. And at the same time, I made the Starboard 6 or 7 years ago, and I think I've been asked, at least 100 times by 100 different people, like, can you make me one, or how can I get one, or something like that. I'm like, you make your own, buddy. But a couple weeks ago or months ago, like, I got into my head, I'm like, I think I think I'm going to start. What's it going to be like to manufacture them? And I always thought about manufacturing. If you were going to manufacture, it would have to be done the way I made my starboard, which was completely by hand and took many, many months. And like it doesn't translate well for people. Few people have the patience and the concentration to do it, because the skill isn't really that hard. It's just like the commitment to do so. And I just thought no one would be interested in that. But it occurred to me that maybe I can do something a little bit different. And so I've been working on that project with my friend Riley out in Pittsburgh. And this week, we ordered 2 prototypes from 2 different places to see what it looks like. And, this looks like it's going to be a thing. Like it's really going to happen. And I don't really know. At some point, I made the conscious decision, that where my direction is going to go is with this system, this notebooking system, and this starboard system, this technique. It's a process of literally getting the conscious mind outside of the time-space construct, which deep culture, which holds us deeply into the culture that never changes. The part of the culture which was the same in Babylon or in Rome or in any of the high cultures of Mesoamerica. Any place where there's human trafficking, taxation, banking. It's all the same culture. There's some similarities which hold it together, and one of them has to do with understanding the passage of time and calendar systems. And this thing which I'm creating, this thing which I'm going to go and teach. Like, I'm not creating anything. I'm just expressing something which is all around us. And I'm doing it like maybe in my way, but there's nothing like, I'm not taking ownership for what I'm sharing, like being able to follow what's going on in the heavens and make sense out of it and then plot it. But I think I am doing it in a new artistic, original way. But what's becoming so evident to me is one, seeing it coming together. Like, this is really going to happen. Like, I'm really going to do this. This is my next step. This is where it's going. Like me really developing programs and ways which people can learn first the why. Why would you want to do this? And then secondly, the how. This is how you do it, like of the system of both the notebooking system and then the starboard system. So there's that, and then the second part, or the second thing that's becoming evident is people seem to be really really interested in learning to do this. There's like, wow, like what are you doing? How are you doing this? And so like I'm seeing there's like a real demand for it. But then it's also coming together as all of this other stuff is happening, as I just described, like these sort of changes. And I'm witnessing that in my own life. And the reason I'm sharing this is like, it's weird to just talk about yourself. I'll tell you that right now. Like there's a little bit which feels a little bit, there's a little bit of if I'm around someone and they're just talking about themselves the whole time, I'd be like, dude, just stop talking about yourself. Like, a conversation's 50-50. And I feel like I'm just talking about myself. But I guess that's the nature of what we're doing here, this conversation. But what I wanted to point out is like, is it just me? Like, or maybe even more so, like, what are you seeing in your lives? My sense is I'm going to be in Gnome Countryside for at least through the summer, but then I'm going to be going to other places. Like I'm starting to recognize that this is maybe going to be a model for me of maybe spending 3 months at a place, maybe teaching at a place, maybe learning that area, and then moving around that way. And I'm not exactly certain how it's shaping up, but by looking at how this truck fell in my life and looking at all this other stuff falling in my life, I'm like, well, that makes a lot of sense that this is how it's going to be. And this is where I want to go with it. So like I knew this was happening. Like so I'm watching this happening. I'm watching like I'm watching the action. I'm watching the actual action of this coming into like material reality. Like, the making the videos, the manufacturing. Like, certainly, like, I'm the one who's driving it, but I've had thoughts for a long time. Why is it all coming together now? Like, that watching this happen, like, I'm aware of that action, but what's really happening, what this is really about, is, as I said, this, what all of the notebooking and the starboard is about is it's a consciousness. It's literally, it's teaching a skill. It's a process that brings the participant outside of the consciousness which they've been in for their entire lives. They don't even realize it's a thing, because you don't realize, like, oh, I could create my own calendars, and I could do it a little bit differently, and, you know, this is what I call the program. There's no such thing as Monday, and you begin to really go and deconstruct, like, what that idea is. And every single time you go and you write in your calendar, like, you know, next Tuesday I'm getting my hair cut, like, you're already committing to, like, upholding the system of this falsity, you know. The only way you can define a day of the week is by using other days of the week. You know, Monday is, by definition, is the day after Sunday and the day before Tuesday. All of the days can be defined that way, like, you know, that's their primary definition. That means, like, outside of themselves, they don't exist. Like, that's what I mean. But when you are not even thinking that that's a thing, and you are just constantly envisioning yourself in the life which has not expressed itself, you are committing to upholding that deep culture. So when you begin a real process, like, and it's not just, like, you know, some sort of other system. It's a system which is, you can know and observe with your own eyes. And when you understand the logic of it, like, it's true. Like, it's not like bullshit, like, you know, October's the 10th month, but 8 is in the name. Like everything is true. So, like, that's what the system is. And when you do that, like, your brain, your consciousness, how you think, it changes. And so this realm that we live in, this material realm, part of its definition is it is self-correcting when given the opportunity to do so. And what's the opportunity to do so? When you stop putting toxins in. So that's in every single way. So, like, you know, we think about toxins, like the big things are obvious. Oh, I'm going to stop playing first-person shooter video games because those are toxins into my consciousness. Like, you know, maybe that's quite evident. I'm going to stop watching, movies or media. I'm going to stop consuming media which puts thoughts in my head which really is toxic, or listen to music which is toxic. Like, I'm going to cut that out. But you don't think about the small things. Like, I'm going to stop thinking about the calendar and stuff like that as something is toxic, but it is. And so what's the point with all this? It's like, when you move outside of that system, you create the space, and you move into something which is true, real, and observable. And so the whole system which I use just follows the phases of the moon. Like, the new cycle begins on the new moon. You know, there's a lot of folks who are like, yeah, I love the 13-moon calendar. I'm like, the 13-moon calendar is fucked up, dude. Because the first of the month of any of your 13 months, if it does not line up with what you're seeing in the sky, it's an abstract. It's a more mathematically pleasing calendar than the Gregorian calendar. I'll give you that. It's more interesting, but it is still it's out of alignment with what you see with your own eyes. And so what you want to do is bring your consciousness in alignment with a system which is at least true to the realm. And then, so what we're doing is we're creating the space to what? To auto-correct. And so everyone thinks, like, when to have massive change, you know, you need to see, like, massive changes in, like, the big systems. The big systems have to come down. The big systems don't have to come down. It's the small things that need to come down, and then that's when the big systems come down. So what we're really doing here is we are planting the seeds of how a radical new reality comes into existence. And it doesn't come into existence with a bang. It comes into it with just a tiny little whisper. making your own calendars, making your own engagement books, making it artistic, making it like a process, like owning it. You know, that's what I'm committing to. Like, you know, yeah, it's about the calendars, yeah, it's about a starboard, but what it's really about is the process of adding to this collective. It's not just me. There are many other ways, other people who are doing the same thing, and what we're doing is we're preparing the field for a radical new reality. And so let me go and define that, and then I'll probably be done with this video. So radical new reality. So when most people, when they hear something like a radical new reality, because a lot of people want change. Like, I want change. Like, that's all, like, you know, you hear in the news and the newspapers is like, you know, this stuff needs to change. But they're not asking for radical new reality. They're asking for a revolution. So all a revolution means is that what is on the bottom is going to come to the top, and what was on the top is going to go to the bottom. Like, it's just a revolution. It just turns it. The wheel doesn't turn, and the person who's like turning the wheel, that doesn't go away. A radical new reality is like you're on a totally different wheel, or even more so, you're on a totally different vehicle. And so there is an inherent blind spot when you are really talking about something radically different because you can't imagine it. Because by definition, if it's going to be radically different, if you're thinking about what it is, you're probably putting it in context of what you already know. So, it's been one of those days. This is like that, like just going through those what feels like to me, and maybe this is going to be the summer, maybe it's this week, I don't know, but there is this you know, the birth and the death. You know, it's messy and it's uncomfortable, but it's in a certain way, it's like unbelievably beautiful, and you know, I'm friggin' 50 years old. I've never seen anything like this in my lifetime. You know, maybe 55 years ago something this extreme happened. But at least from my point of reference, what I've seen, like, this doesn't happen every day. Like, this is kind of special. So again, what are you guys seeing? You know, or maybe even more so, like, when you ask, when you pose a question, like I just posed a question, so that is going to encourage a response. And so it's like, oh, well, this is a response. This is what I'm seeing. I see it too. Like, that's natural for human beings. Like when, I'm assuming if you're watching this, like, you know, part of what I'm saying has to resonate with you. Like, you know, about major change and stuff like that. And so when I ask that question, there's going to be a natural desire to want to respond right away. But that probably is not the best thing to do. The best thing to do is to encourage you, you know, if I'm the guy who's talking and making this video, is to encourage you as the viewer to look again at what is happening in your life right now. Like, literally, like the most basic stuff. It's not deep mystical stuff. It's the mundane stuff. Look at the mundane and find the mysticism in that. And see what the major changes are, and, like, you know, and maybe look at it from a different way. You know, you would not be watching this program unless you were part of this radical new reality, which is, you know, being planted. So that being said, I'll give you this one last shot. It's Uncle Mike, Gnome Countryside, June 25th, 2022. I am doing sessions here. I can do one-on-one sessions. I've done a couple already. If you can make it out here, it's really kind of special, and, you know, now's the time.